Rosemary, yes, it is. Obviously, as any new administration, we would want to come in. We have made very, very, very tangible deliverables that we have to achieve. We didn't come with an esoteric grand plan. We came in very specific on what we needed to achieve.
And what
you're
are those
quite right.
specifics?
That is the Mayor's 10-point plan, which is bringing down unemployment. It is increasing the GDP. It is eradicating corruption. It is ensuring that basic services are provided to the residents of Johannesburg, that we can repair crumbling infrastructure. It's not good enough that our power stations that were built 25 years ago have never been maintained, and we wonder why we have continual electrical problems, that our sewage system is not coping. Our water systems have not been maintained sufficiently. The infrastructure budget and repairs and maintenance is almost non-existent, what we inherited. And obviously we feel very...
What are the staff doing, the tens of thousands of staff then?
Well, we have the city employs 33,000 people. And we have to really compliment a lot of people. They are true, proud Joburgers that are extremely professional civil servants, but they were hampered. The executive mayor went to visit a call center recently, only to find the lift hasn't worked for 2.5 years.
Oh my word.
So in this heat, the staff are expected to walk 4.5 flights of steps. Now, what does this mean for our disabled policy? How people who are in wheelchairs or simply cannot do steps, pregnant people, old people, how is this possible? Chairs that don't work, headphones that don't fit. How can we expect people to provide a service when they are working in an almost inhumane condition? So let me be frank. A lot of our employees within the city want to prove themselves. They want to be committed to service with pride. Unfortunately, as you know, as your listeners know, the mayor has come down incredibly hard on corruption.
Oh yes, we got the recent. It was on our news. The arrest of the traffic.
Well, precisely. Now you think of the tens of millions we have been losing off our budget just on corruption. So, in the absence of us being able to change a budget fundamentally, we are making sure that by stopping and rooting out corruption, and let me tell you, there will be more and more every week. You'll be hearing more and more cases where we are arresting people and putting them in jail. It's not good enough that someone gets suspended or resigns. You will go to jail for fraud and corruption. So
it's only when there's consequences.
Yes. As you refer to some of the vanity projects, I don't think anybody was aware, certainly not ourselves as the opposition party when we were sitting in council, how much funding had been allocated to some of these projects. So I'm not going to say whether the project had merit or was viable or not. It's when we found out that some projects had a budget of 150 million with no previous year's financials being able to be accounted for. When we have given, for example, 50 million to the creation of the bakery, that in theory was a good idea. Yes, we need bakeries for bread, but we were importing mango pips to produce the bread. Now, how can that correlate? And how can that business be sustainable? It can never be that a city pays for a project to create a job, because when the money dries up, does it mean then the project dies?
Who owns this project?
It was the city. Well, as the city now, we are looking at ways to see which private sector wants to come in, and we will do a handover process and say, take it if you feel that it's commercially viable. We have to create an enabling environment for business to thrive. We can't be putting money, tens of millions, into projects that will never be sustainable.
They can only survive with government money.
Yes. What happened? Look at our budgets today. We don't have... when people are phoning us on a daily basis, an hourly basis, saying these are the problems within the city, and we've said we understand and we hear you, the reality is our budgets are incredibly tight, and in the new financial year, which is the 30th of June, there will be no more excuses. We will take, with our coalition partners, we will have drawn up the budgets and we will dictate, and we have to become we have to put the funding directly back into our economy, into our infrastructure, into our services, into our learnership programs. It doesn't make any sense for me to create and develop and build a bakery and not have empowered somebody to own a bakery one day. Hence where we go to the artisan programs. Somebody needs to be empowered to open their own business, to become, I have to give them that environment. I can't dictate what you are going to do.
So you're a facilitator.
That's completely correct.
Now, MMC Sharon Peets, MMC for Economic Development in the city of Joburg, our city. What offering are you making to investors when you, for example, we've had the recent furor with the mayor of Tshwane going to Taiwan and the leader of the DA going to Israel. But it's all part of trying to attract investors. Now, as the city of Joburg, what are we offering potential FDI investors?
Thank you very much. Well, the first problem, why somebody would choose not to invest in Johannesburg up until now, is simply the red tape and inertia. Let's look at the Heineken factory, who came to Johannesburg. 2 years later, they had finished their development in Midvaal, and they were still waiting for the city of Johannesburg to say, come. We have created a fast track investment committee. That means if you are a potential investor, we will go all out to woo you, to explain why you should give your investment to the city of Johannesburg and how we will fast track all the processes. So we will be the one-stop shop. We will make sure that the land is available, the buildings available, the permissions, the bulk infrastructure is made available for you. We'll make sure that planning permits, the investor will come to my department and not have to run from 27 other city departments. We also want to make sure that we have financial schemes in place. In the inner city, we have the UDZ, which is a national scheme, but we haven't leveraged on it enough. We want to give investors a basket of opportunity. Now, in terms of direct foreign investment, we have not only categorized which countries we aim to target, but we've even unpacked it to which cities in those countries we feel our FDI is going to come from. Now, you saw that Cape Town has just been listed as one of the top 4 FDIs of the world, and we are certainly not going to be in that position next year. It will be Johannesburg. We have a far bigger, more complex city, and Cape Town has set the bar.
Cape Town beat us.
Cape Town has set the bar.
Well, I hear Nelson Mandela Bay is also doing quite well now.
Rosemary, let me be clear. In 12 months' time, we will be the core city in Africa. But inward investment and direct foreign investment is critical for us. But having said that, apart from foreign investment, we have met with several investment houses
locally
in Joburg who've said, release the potential, unblock the red tape. We are eager to partner with you. We want to come in. How can we work with you? So it's just us making sure that we are able to unlock the potential, the opportunities, fast track it, woo the investor. He certainly doesn't have to invest in Johannesburg or South Africa. In this day and age, you can take, if you want to develop a call center, you can take it anywhere in the world. India has been incredibly successful in that. So we need to ensure that we are giving that level of service to investors with a financial basket of investment opportunities to ensure that we become the top investment destination of Africa.
You know, I haven't asked you any political questions. We've only been talking about the economic development of the COJ, which is what you're here for. But it would be remiss of me not to go into this. Because with your new budget, the EFF is not your coalition partner, but they support, basically it's, let's say, the opposition parties, because the opposition parties, you're no longer the opposition, but the opposition parties historically won the local government election by the numbers. Now, the DA are, I won't call you free marketeers, but you're a market-friendly party. The EFF, on the other hand, espouses their form of what they call socialism. So when it comes to voting for the budget, for your vision, of the economic development of Joburg. Do you see any problems there?
I'm very happy to say, and I will never speak on behalf of the EFF, obviously, but we had a very, very good, strong, robust discussion on the budget last week. And we have the same core vision in that, do we want to increase GDP that makes meaningful difference to people in our city, and more importantly, people who live in the 160 informal townships that we have.
Joburg has 160 informal townships.
Yeah, informal settlements. So, yes, that we agree on that. Do we want to create meaningful jobs, sustainable jobs? We agree on that. Do we want to root out all corruption? Yes, we agree on that. So we had a very robust discussion, and both our coalition partners and the EFF looked at the budget. They looked at the reality. And we said, what can we do in terms of this adjustment? And what can we do with the next budget, bearing in mind? And I'm very happy to say that I have no doubt that council will be as robust at the next week's council sitting. But I truly believe that we will have the support to make sure that this is passed. And I truly believe that we will have the support of all councillors in council, because it's a strong, solid budget. I can't understand why anybody would want to not move forward with this budget.
Do you think that what we've entered, what I call the era of competitive politics, that it's giving us space for more transparency? Because I'm listening to you talking now, and you had discussions with various political parties. So does that mean that the competitive politics has been a boon for democracy and transparency?
I totally agree with that. Yes, I completely agree with that. That's exactly what our role and mandate is to be a clear, transparent, open and honest government. If anybody wants to meet with me, discuss any issue, see any proposal, business plan, make sure that we are held accountable, I would be more than happy to engage with any political party, any citizen, any resident, any business who wants to engage. We want to make sure that we are completely transparent. So you are 100% correct. And I think we can see this rolling out in the other metros where we have coalition and voting partners in some instances. It is certainly a way of keeping any administration very clean, open, honest and transparent.
I have to talk about this. We've seen, the legislatures are where the laws that govern my well-being, whether it's my health, education, safety, are passed. But recent times, they've become reminiscent of barroom brawls. What's going on there?
Oh, Rosemary, that is indeed one. It has become a bit of a reality TV program if one watches it. I truly believe that when you started the show, you unpacked local, provincial and national spheres of government. And it is our core aim and objective to work with our colleagues in provincial government. We are very, very clear that we need to leverage funding. We need to ensure that we work together on projects. We have to ensure that the residents of Johannesburg benefit from a mature relationship on political levels as opposed to a childish relationship. It can't be children in a sandpit arguing and having a spat. It has to be a very mature, developed relationship to ensure that local and provincial and indeed national government work hand in glove. At this point in time, we have obviously opposing ideas. We look at what happened, what happens in Parliament in terms of hiding fraud and corruption and no accountability. And that's one thing we will never back down from. We will always remain incredibly firm and strong about holding people accountable and individuals accountable and holding people to account for immense corruption. But in terms of, we've been very privileged and honored to have numerous discussions with the Premier of the province as well as his MECs, and we really want to continue to build and develop that relationship.
Now, I'm very glad to hear that. Now, MMC Sharon Peets, MMC for Economic Development of... Now, I keep having... I want people to know who you are so that when they want to complain, they know who to complain to. Now, your aspiration as a citizen of South Africa, what drove you to enter politics? I mean, politicians are brawlers, and now it's become literal. But what drove? Because first of all, when you become a politician, and I said this to the mayor when he was on his campaign trail, I said, you're a private citizen right now. Nobody can mess with your privacy. But by volunteering yourself as a public representative, we own you. Why would you do this?
That is such a good question. And it's so odd. When people call me a politician or MMC, I still look around to see who's coming. It's a very strange title to resonate with. When I feel myself as being a business person, I feel myself being the CEO of a business, driving an economy, making a difference, implementing plans and ideas. I find it bizarre to be called a politician.
That's such an interesting analogy that you see yourself as a business person. Because, well, for me, if you see yourself as the CEO of the company, COJ's Economic Development, it means that you are taking responsibility for the success of that company.
And the shareholders are my residents. The shareholders of the company are the residents of Johannesburg. I'm held accountable to the board and the shareholders. So that's how I see it. And what drove me, what was the aspiration? It's the future. Where do I want my children to be, our children, your children to be in 20 years' time? Is it further decline of where we stand now? Or is it somebody who gives birth to a baby? The hospital will be identical whether it's in Sandton or Soswetla. That when that child enters primary school, the level of education, access to ICT, tablets, the same amount of students per classroom is the same. When that child matriculates, they have equal opportunity to the same universities around the country for a good value tertiary education, that they have access to the job market. And that's when I took the decision to enter politics, it's where do I want our children to be in 20 years' time?
So it was the future
that drove me.
That drove you.
Yeah.
Because you want excellence.
That's exactly it. I think, and to anybody who's ever thought, how can I make a difference? You can make a difference. It's not good enough to just sit and complain. It's what solutions could I possibly give to the administration to make a difference? How can I impact positively on my local economy, my neighbor? It's to I go back to the adage, how many times do you engage with your neighbors? When you're saying formulate the buying club, we need to bring that spirit of pride. I live in a city that I love, that I know my neighbors, that if we take a portion of the verge to keep clean just directly in front of our home, all of those small differences make a monumental difference for our future.
Do you think that within the next 5 years, as a woman, I'll be able to walk in the streets of Johannesburg in the evening freely?
Rosemary, you and I will walk down the streets together and I'll buy you a glass of wine. At one of the new alfresco restaurants and dining areas we have, we can pop into the business center. We can send an email of a photograph that we've taken to our friends and family around the world. We will be able to do a little bit of shopping before we have dinner. And we will then take public transport back home.
I like the sound of that. Sharon, I think we've come to the end of our show, unfortunately. And, when people hear it's an hour's show, they usually, an hour. But before, we haven't said all the things we want to say, but I want to conclude by, do you by any chance, I know that the CEO often doesn't know the details, and you are the CEO. Do you by any chance know the address of the SMME Center where people can go to for help?
It is in Marshalltown, but you're quite right. Right here and now, I don't have the exact address offhand. I've hit a bit of a block. Could I ask that I send you the details to post on your web? So
yes,
you can
please.
do all 7 addresses in all 7 regions.
We'll put it on our social media platforms.
And then you can make sure that anybody can access that, and it's also on our Joburg, City of Joburg website, www.joburg.org.za.
Remember, Joburg it's Joburg, not Johannesburg, and Joburg. It's .org, O-R-G, not .co, please, .org. And I can't thank you enough for this, for an enlightening and inspirational chat. And we look forward. I hope we're going to get Michael. How do you say his surname?
Son.
MMC
Michael's son.
Yes, safety and security. But MMC Sharon Peets, MMC for Economic Development, all the best. And I hope you achieve all the goals that you've set yourselves out, because if you achieve those goals, I'm going to be better off, and the citizens of Kofifi Land will be better off. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was my absolute pleasure, and anytime you want me back, I would be more than happy.
And that, join me on Thursday on Conversations with Rosemary as we talk to DJ Euphonic. Yeah, we go from MMC to DJ.
Jive Drive. Who else to confide in but your personal companion? The Jive Drive, Mondays to Fridays, 3 to 6.